Hello everyone, my name is Tim, and the problem I'll be presenting on is food insecurity in the United States. So what is food insecurity? Food insecurity is the limited or uncertain availability of nutritionally adequate and safe foods, or it's the inability to acquire acceptable foods in socially acceptable ways. So what that could mean is they don't have transportation to and from getting proper food, or maybe they don't have the resources surrounding them to have the right food, and also having the lack of money or resources to even go get food in the first place. In the United States, about 11.8% of the population is food insecure. In San Bernardino County, it is 12%. So right on the average with what United States is, and 1 out of 8 Californians currently struggle with food insecurity. These numbers may not seem like that much, but these are in the tens of millions of people that are being affected day in and day out in the United States. And in San Bernardino County, we're a very big county with that kind of percentage. It definitely has its toll on our local economy. And there's definitely the health effects that food insecurity causes, as well as economic effects that are caused from which I'll go into right now. So there's a higher risk of birth defects in newborn babies. There's greater cognitive problems, in particular behavioral issues. So a lot of irritability has been found, kind of known if you don't have food you become irritable, but there's a lot more behavioral issues, more in depth, that become more permanent from this, especially when food insecurity is more prevalent at a younger age. There's a higher risk of anemia, there's higher risks of chronic diseases, a higher risk of obesity, and there's also a higher risk of stress. And stress has its own effects itself that I think we should all be able to relate to. There are some demographics that are particularly affected more than compared to others, particularly African American, Hispanic, people that have been never married, less educated, younger, and households with children. Younger children between the ages of 2 and 3 are significantly affected more. This is because of where they're at in their development stage, in the human development, being food insecure, not having proper nutrition or the proper resources. It definitely has a toll on them as they're developing at that age. Some of the economic effects that are felt from food insecurity are higher healthcare costs. Food insecurity added about 11% to the total healthcare costs of older adults with and without a specific chronic condition. This is also felt throughout other generations as well. This is just one stat that I wanted to report for older adults, but it is also prevalent in younger adults, or the particular demographics that I was talking about. There's also, when food insecurity is as it is now, it is not as contributing as much as it can to the economy, because that means people aren't spending their money at their businesses, their grocery stores, anything like that to contribute, which in turn maybe have its effects on the economy and as well as private sector development. So SNAP is Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, and this is just one of the many programs that are out there to help kind of alleviate food insecurity in the United States. And as you can see, when the SNAP benefits are delivered, this is where most of the citizens will spend most of their money, at the superstores, supermarkets, grocery stores, and unfortunately, farmers markets are at the very bottom. There has not been as much incentive to go to those yet, but that is also one of the greater sources to go get some of the best resources for food. The cost of nutritional assistance programs, or the cost of trying to help food insecurity as a whole, is there's not really one total cost in the research that I've seen. since there are so many different kinds of programs to help alleviate food insecurity, that there's really not kind of one particular answer. But for SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, that was estimated by the Center for Budget Policy Priorities about 70 billion. And you could imagine with all the other programs involved, it definitely gets more than 70 billion, and it's a quite an expensive program for the United States. So the origin and history of food insecurity. Um, in the whole world where food insecurity exists, it's always been prevalent throughout history. It's just something that I think is always going to be around because it's just sometimes there's not enough resources to go around for everyone. That's meaning with being employed or having the amount of money or having the access to the proper foods. Sometimes there's just not going to be there for them. In particular, one example, in the United States, the Great Depression caused a lot of surpluses in a lot of food. This happened because a lot of people didn't have the jobs to get the paychecks to use the money to buy the food. And this caused a lot of farmers to have a lot of surpluses. And this helped actually create one of the first programs to help food insecurity, which was the 1939 food stamp program. It encouraged a lot of domestic consumption of food to help with the high amount of unemployment. This was very popular with a lot of the citizens, grocers, and participants, and programs like these to help food insecurity still remain pretty popular today. So, how to solve it? Is it solvable? First of all, in my own opinion, the short answer is not entirely. There have been increases in helping with food insecurity. For example, from 2016 to 2017 in food insecurity, it was from 12.3 to 11.8, so that's good that it's decreasing, as well as from 4.9 to 4.5 in very low food insecurity. There's also that just adds to the issue of having to solve this problem is the issue of external factors, such as recessions. So for our most recent recession that we've had from 2007 to 2008, in 2009, 35% was one of the higher rates we've ever had of food insecurity in America. And also, natural disasters definitely causing food insecurity, and as we've seen recently with a lot of the storms getting more extreme and getting more worse, I can only imagine our future maybe seeing higher rates of food insecurity when these events happen. And I don't think we're totally prepared for those, but I think we're definitely starting to get a little bit more of a toll on what's going to happen. And as well as other economic factors such as unemployment, that definitely will add to your food insecurity. If you're laid off from your job, you quit, examples like that. This is also a very politically charged policy, so especially in the United States, there's competing ideologies from the left and right, and one side would like to have more funding to help food insecurity, and one side would not necessarily want to have no funding to help the program. But it is one of the other sides to the argument is to just not have as much because they do not want to see this program as funded as compared to the other side. So the public versus private and some nonprofit. Who is it to run in food insecurity and who is it to help solve the issue of food insecurity? There's many private sector benefits. In particular, there are the expanded use of corporate distribution capabilities. So many of especially the international companies are able to have really fast shipping, really be able to access their resources from different countries, and that could definitely help out governments reach people that are food insecure. And even in the United States, just going from state to state or city to city, these companies can definitely help out distributing resources. There's also the increased research and more innovative practices that private sector has to offer. They do not have as much of the bureaucracy, and they're able to maybe perform research in a more have a little more freedom with it, and as well as there tends to be a little more innovation in the private sector than compared to the public sector. The World Food Program from the United Nations has had a lot of great success partnering with private companies. PepsiCo is one in particular in Ethiopia that they do a lot of work in really helping to alleviate food insecurity there. And as well as there's many private companies that help out in the United States that help that out as well. Public and private sectors are driven by differing ethos and principles. Private sector may tend to lean with its board members or lean with saving money and maybe not helping out as much and have more incentive to make money instead of what maybe the public sector is, which is trying to help people, trying to find programs to just help people and have an overall better objective than compared to maybe private sector, which is more interested than in money. So in my opinion, I think a public-private partnership would be the most ideal to help solve the issue of food insecurity. And I think, going forward, this will become more prevalent as we are seeing today with not only the United States doing this, but we're seeing a lot of many other countries getting to this types of fashion where they are relying on private businesses to help expand their food outreach efforts and with nonprofits and partnering with them and local governments to really help spread their resources a little bit more wisely and to help everyone out a little bit more. These are my references for what I've used in this presentation, and I thank you all for watching.